welcome to Harrow Fire Station. I'm Holly, I'm a firefighter on the Red Watch. The station is located on Pinner Road and was built in 1937.
I decided to become a firefighter as my father was a firefighter and it's all I ever wanted to do. Growing up as a kid, used to visit him at stations and stuff. So yeah, for me it's been a career since childhood that I wanted to do.
The reason why I decided to become a firefighter was when I was younger, I'd done work experience at Ealing Fire Station, which was pretty unheard of at the time. So I was about 15 and my teacher contacted the fire brigade and said, could someone do work experience? And they said, yeah. So I ended up spending 3 weeks doing all different departments, and they actually let me stay the night at the station. I went out on shouts, and for a 15-year-old, that was amazing. And it was like, wow, this is like the job for me. So that was essentially why I wanted to do it, but I didn't do it straight away because my parents had a family business, and it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I then decided to apply for it, and I managed to get in first time. And yeah, I've had no regrets since.
Throughout my 20s, I bounced around from job to job, quite unhappy in the roles that I was in. I struggled to get motivated for the jobs I was doing at the time. I had a couple of friends that were in the job who sort of told me a bit more about it, and growing up I've always been involved in team sports, and it's very much a team environment, so it was very appealing. I visited a few fire stations and I thought this could be the job for me, and the more I sort of looked into it and learned more about it, I thought, yeah, let's go for it, and I applied and went through training school, and I think it was the best decision I ever made.
I always kind of thought of working as part of a team. I always wanted to kind of be involved in society and community and feel like I was trying to make a difference, and it just seemed like the right fit for me. Like, I tried ambulances and things like that, but I think the kind of teamwork and camaraderie around the fire service jumped out a little bit more.
To be a firefighter in Harrow means quite a lot to me. My grandparents used to live in Harrow and they used to run a hotel down in Hines Road, and my father was also a sub-officer here at Harrow on the Green Watch. So when I got stationed here, I was really pleased because I had memories of coming here as a child, sitting on the fire engine, and now I'm sort of sitting in the office where I remember looking and seeing people doing what I do now, so it meant quite a lot coming here.
In Harrow, it's an old-fashioned station. It's like more like a family unit. Everyone's like happy, everyone enjoys coming to work. It's a diverse community. It's all different things that can happen. It's not like your typical station inside the city. We get a variation of calls and things like that. So it's just a nice environment to be in on the outskirts of London.
It's a bit of a homecoming for me working here at Harrow, because currently I live in Surrey, about an hour away, but I grew up in this area. So I'm very familiar with these streets and the station ground, you know, all the landmarks, and so I've got a good sense of and a feel for the area. And like I said, yeah, it's a bit of a homecoming driving around these streets. It brings back memories from growing up. So it is quite special to say that I'm serving the area that I grew up in, essentially. So yeah, it's quite special.
Quite a lot to me, because I mean, I grew up quite a long way away, but my dad actually grew up and went to school on the ground here. So kind of coming back to that and like where my grandparents used to live and things like that, it kind of feels good to kind of have a bit of a family connection, but then also knowing that how the community is now, that you're still kind of representing them and supporting them.
This was my first watch as a sub-officer, so when I came to the station, I was in charge of the watch, which was quite a big step for me. I started, and not long after the COVID pandemic kicked off, and that was a really challenging time. We learnt an awful lot in a short space of time, sort of running a watch through a pandemic and all the challenges that brought. We went out to food banks in the local community, and then since the pandemic has finished, we're getting more and more involved with new activities, such as this week it's Carers Week, so we're going to a show today to do a talk to some carers from the Borough of Harrow, and also they've introduced new fire safety checks, which involves us going around checking premises, shops with dwellings above to check they're safe for fire. So that's a new role. So it's all been very interesting.
So my one experience that I remember is when I first got to station. I think I was 2 years into station. You had to do your driving. So I went on my LGV driving test, which was done from Finchley Fire Station. So I was halfway through my driving lesson in the lorry, come to a junction, and we come across a grandmother and a granddaughter, sorry, had been knocked over. So we had to stop the truck, deal with the casualties, and I wound up being there for 3 hours because the HEMS helicopter come down and I assisted the HEMS, done everything. Then I had to get back in the truck, carried on with my driving test, and lucky enough I managed to pass it. So there was like a write-up in the local newspaper because the station found out. They contacted the local paper. I come into work the next day and the press were here waiting. They'd ambushed me, took pictures of me and put it in the paper. So that's one of the memories I can remember of Harrow.
I'd say the standout memory, you always remember your first time, and I think going through training school, which was very, very hard. It was hard work, but it's not real life. And then when you come to the fire station, the environment's totally different, and we get called to a lot of different kinds of incidents, a lot of false alarms. But I think your very first fire, significant fire, is one that always stands out. You know, the feeling of when you're en route, that rush of adrenaline, looking around, and you know, seeing what your more experienced colleagues are doing, and just learning, and it was an amazing experience. And when that finally happened, that's when you feel like you've arrived in the job. So I'd say my first ever significant fire was the one that really stands out.
In terms of memories here, because they've got the training school out the back, I still remember my first day kind of walking over from the training school to here. Everyone else was kind of going away because their stations were miles away. And my watch was already here watching me train and stuff out the back because they knew I was coming. So I was super nervous about that. But yeah, I don't think you ever forget your first fire either. And so I kind of feel like I remember every single little detail of it, kind of where it was, how it felt, all those kind of things. And yeah, it was pretty cool.
Leading firefighter Gaywood, firefighter Hiskey, firefighter Durkin, firefighter McCarthy, firefighter Rowson, firefighter Swanson, firefighter Franzoni.